quality, which you say long-lasting learning is more than active learning. And active learning, as you said, is a little bit of a buzzword. It came out. I had an active learning manual that I put out in the 90s for EMS, trying, before, flipped classrooms and stuff were cool. And we recognized that more dynamic things help. But I think there's a few things that you want to tell us. I think we have some misconceptions about what's dynamic and active and what works.
Yeah, and let me be clear. I'm not against active learning. I think active learning is really important. But the problem is that the term active learning has sort of become a lot of different things, and it certainly is a cliche in the world of EMS education. And you and I both abhor the cliche, right? That we want this to be more than just a buzzword that you use. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of EMS educators will consider themselves using active learning, but really what they're doing is just sort of videotaping themselves giving a lecture and asking their students to watch a video on YouTube. Now, that's learning, but it's not really active learning. And I think when we start talking about this kind of stuff, if we really want to imprint to that long-term memory, if we really want them to have that procedural capability around this kind of stuff, we've got to move past just the notion that they're going to sit passively and listen to a lecture, or they're going to sit passively and read a text. Now, I'm not against reading either, but they've got to engage their brain. They've got to engage a little bit of a different place to do this sort of thing. We've got to move them away from just simply being able to recite that skill sheet or recite that algorithm, but we've got to make them use that knowledge. We've got to make them be able to take that information that's in their brain and put it to a purposeful use. That's the core, and that's really what needs to happen under the circumstances.
And again, we're talking in this podcast to both educators and students, and both have a role in this. The educators need to set up experiences and plan for things that are going to get more into that better learning and engagement. But students also should be listening to this saying, all right, well, how do I do this so I can be the best I can be? Right? Because there's a student responsibility in this as well.
There sure is. And I'm going to tell you something. It's really hard because doing it passively is the easy way, right? Students want to recite. Students want to cram at the last minute. Students want this to be a single time where they have to worry about it and then put it out of their brain. I get it. I've been a student. I've been to lots of classes and done it myself. But the fact is, what they really want is a certain degree of difficulty. If they really want this to be usable, they've got to put a certain amount of effort behind it and engage in these more active processes if they want it to be ready.
So you have some different examples here of things, including games and some other stuff. You've talked about what what quality learning is. Do you have the good, the bad, and the ugly here you want to put out, I guess, in this part?
Yeah, well, so I guess I would say that ugly is anything that's passive, right? Anything that doesn't require a student to engage their brain in some kind of a recall or retrieval process. If all they have to do is repeat, if all they have to do is use a declarative memory, declarative memory is like the very basic flashcards that you remember for a second and then you put them back down again. What we really need are, and we're going to talk about this in a couple minutes, we need three core elements. We need retrieval, we need spacing, and we need interleaving, which means we're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to change some context around it a little bit. But most importantly, what we need them to do is use their brain to engage. We need them to find out why they need that information, to pull that information out from the back reaches and use it in a meaningful way. That's what we want.